I am Animesh Anand from Political Science Department. Ma'am, could you please provide the key sectors targeted for their development under the Viksit Bharat 2047 and the measures government is taking to achieve its goal? I mean, clear?
Well, key sectors, you mean in manufacturing, I suppose?
Yes, ma'am.
Even, agriculture retains its primacy, and we are looking at strengthening agriculture, modernizing some of the practices, post-harvest practices, and so on. So agriculture continues. In manufacturing, we are looking at, as I said, about 13 sunrise sectors, whether it is renewable energy, semiconductor, machine learning related, material sciences, earth sciences, space, are all areas in which high priority is being given, not just for budget, but also looking at strengthening R&D, bringing in experts from other areas so that they can be advisors for greater futuristic planning and so on.
Thank you, ma'am. More questions, please raise your hands. Volunteers in the center block.
Hello. Good afternoon, ma'am. I'm SSRT from BA History Honors second year. Ma'am, my question is, with the rise...
Please raise your hand.
Okay. Ma'am, my question is, with the rise in digital currencies and also the growth in the technology and blockchain technology, what's the government instance for its innovation and development while ensuring the regulatory stability, as there is a rise in crimes also in digital way?
You've actually clubbed quite a few things into one. But if you were referring to, let's say, blockchain and...
Digital currencies.
Sorry?
Digital currencies rise and along rise.
Digital currencies. They are actually, I would look at it too differently. The Reserve Bank is the one who's going to be looking at the digital currency, and they've already started working on it. You have the retail version of a digital central bank-driven currency, and also the wholesale use of digital currency. We strongly believe it helps in cross-border payments. It'll bring in greater transparency, and traceability is very important. Speeding up the payments with less cost so that instant payments are possible will help most of our people who are outside wanting to do their remittances. Both the regulator and the government are working on it. We are actively engaged in it.
Thank you. Any more questions? Yes. Just in front of the one who's already answered, we have a hand raised here.
Good morning, ma'am. My name is Sarwar. I am from Economics Department. I would like to ask that due to India making at the #1 spot in the World Population Index, how do you see the youth employment in the upcoming years? What challenges are we going to face, and how are you going to boost the job creation and make it more sustainable?
See, the first issue, and I'm glad I'm saying this before the Vice Chancellor and the principal of our college. Even 2 days ago, I've had engagement with the industry, particularly those which are, as we were talking earlier, futuristic. The only worry that industry has, which is very keen to recruit people, is as they come out of universities, students are not ready to be straight deployed into a job. There is a gap between what you've learned in these schools and universities and what the expectation of the industry is. Now, I'll have to divide this into two different groups. For those who are coming out of, let us say, higher secondary level of schooling and who do not go into colleges, but who do some kind of a technical course through ITIs of the sort, the gap can be filled up. And in the last 4 or 5 years, I have personally been involved when industry groups have taken such students and trained them with those skills which they would need for themselves. So they would, if for instance they need 100 people to be recruited annually, they train about 300 and recruit 100 who they want, a cluster of industries that is. They're largely MSMEs, and the rest 200 are there in the market for anybody from any other region also to recruit. So this takes care of the higher secondary pass-outs who go through technical education of some sort, and for being industry ready, they are being trained by the industry groups themselves. But those who have gone through engineering or medical or whatever, have a gap which has to be bridged. And industry very clearly recognizes what is the kind of gap. And as a result, working with state governments, we are engaged in seeing how that bridge course can be conducted in the locales where these colleges are situated, so that not everyone, but at least the best of that lot will be getting their own opportunities in that area itself. In this, an addition which we have consciously brought in is training in international languages, so that this very same person, after a year or two, can choose to move out to countries where the prospects lie. So we've started doing this. I know Japanese has been brought in that way. Chinese was given as an option. I'm not sure how many of them have taken it. So there are efforts and specific concrete efforts being taken up, but we need to ramp it all up. I concede that.
Thank you so much, ma'am. We have volunteers in the central block, many of them. Please help with the mic. Yeah.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Can you raise your hand, please?
Good afternoon, ma'am. I am Agrima. Today is the National Voters' Day, as we know. So I want to know that as we all are going to vote, so for those who are participating in our maiden general elections this year, what key considerations should guide our choice of a political party?
Hey, before I answer her, I just want a curiosity question. How many all will be voting for the first time in this general election?
Yes, we.
Who? Really? So happy for all of you all. Use this opportunity. Go out and vote. And make sure that your family goes with you.
Sure.
Don't waste even one vote. You can waste a vote by even casting it, but even before that. Ma'am, you want to make me engage myself in politics out here? I belong to a party and I'm very proud of my party. I'm very proud of the government we run. So choose wisely, ma'am.
Hello. At this point, I must apprise you, ma'am, that Hindu College does have an electoral literacy club, and we are already running an awareness campaign with more than 800 students already registered for it.
Greetings of the day, ma'am. Vasudev this side from the Department of Economics. Through my question, I would like to know from you that what do you think is the feature of agricultural sector and its role in our goal to become the 5 trillion economy?
I missed out on one word. What do you think is
The feature of agricultural sector
the
and its role.
future?
Feature.
Feature or future of agriculture?
Ma'am, that is the feature.
Okay. See, we should be glad for one thing. Huh? Please sit down.
Yeah.
We should be extremely glad for one thing. There are countries, inclusive of some very big countries, who are not self-sufficient in food grains, who are not self-sufficient in horticulture, who are not self-sufficient in milk, who are certainly not self-sufficient in fish and poultry. Meat, probably, but I don't know. And India is self-sufficient, nearly self-sufficient in all these. And in some of them are top world number 1 or world number 2 in terms of the quantity produced, the output from each of these. And we are also in a position to export. Whether your milk and milk products, whether it is your horticulture, your fruits, India is one of the top exporters. So the feature, sir, is India's agriculture is almost self-sufficient in every one of it. Even as I say this, may not be in pulses, may not be in oilseeds, but even some commercial crops, cotton for instance, coffee for instance, plantation, tea for instance, again plantation, rubber for instance, again plantation. India is one of the top countries which produces high quality rubber, natural rubber. And that is grown in Kerala and it is grown in the Northeast. So we are one of those very fortunate countries which, in a world which is affected by war, your Red Sea conflict, movement of food grains becoming very, very logistically challenging and costly, we are one of those countries which is largely self-sufficient. But I therefore appeal to you, please don't waste food. We may be self-sufficient, but there are a lot of people even today who find it difficult to buy all that they want to buy. So be caring. Take as much as you want, but just as much as you want. Don't fill your plate up and waste it. This is a wonderful country which can feed every one of us, but we should not be greedy. So that's the feature. But what's the future? The future is there are a lot of countries which want to have long-term understanding with India for food exports, processing of food, export of processed food, export of value-added food. Immense possibility exists in agriculture. We are investing in R&D for agriculture. And I'm sure many of you who have interest in that area should go back to your respective villages, even if there is a small holding, at least as a matter of hobby-like pursuit. Start attempting to do something in agriculture. It's so rewarding, not just financially, even otherwise.
Thank you so much, ma'am. We can have at the max 2 more questions now.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon, ma'am. I'm Komal Singh from History Department. My question is, in what ways has the...
Just 1 minute. How many of you all are from history? But you have a big role to play, yeah? You have a very big role to play. Go on.
My question is, in what ways has the implementation of the direct benefit transfer has redefined the efficiency of the government scheme delivery? Thank you.
A very important question coming from a history student. I'm so glad.
Thank you, ma'am.
Direct benefit transfer has brought in transparency. You know who you're sending to, how much you're sending to. Anyone, a journalist or anybody, can go to the ground and ask that person, did you get that much money or not? One. Second, it has come of great use during COVID. When developed countries were really struggling to reach money to their, who they aimed at covering, were writing checks and posting it via the regular mails. We, at the press of a button, were able to send that money instantly to all those beneficiaries, crores of them. So efficiency improves. The beneficiary gets it on the spot. At his convenience from his phone, he can even start spending it without even wanting to go to a bank. Third, it has resulted in huge savings. I'm talking of approximately only 44 schemes, roughly, subject to minor corrections. Nearly 2.5 lakh crores have been saved because pilferage, non-existing individuals, dummy accounts have all been eliminated through a process of eKYC. As a result, you're sending money to who need to get it, but not to those who are not even born yet. Dummy accounts in the name of people who are not born yet were opened. And monies were going to them. We've literally stopped it all by adapting technology. Efficiencies improve, transparency comes in. Third, you are clearly eliminating undesirable beneficiaries. So that's the answer, ma'am.
Very well said. One last question.
Hello, ma'am.
Volunteers
I see 4 hands there. One last question, but 4
ma'am.
hands.
on the right.
Oh,
My
okay.
right.
Hello. Ma'am, I'm Varnit. I'm studying maths. Ma'am, I'm Varnit. I'm studying maths. And my question to you is that whether you feel that there is a rise in the negative discourse in Indian politics, because we are getting to see a considerably lower number of parties communicating their visionary plans for India.
This is one of those last questions where the answer is going to be long. First of all, to that question which asked about the voting, I strongly appeal to you all to assess about India, its past or its present, or about the promises and action for the future. By talking to a lot of people, by reading a lot of material from different sources, rather than believing one source. Not just your question pertained to political parties, right? In general, today, the public narrative is quite vitiated. Whether it is through the proper print media or electronic media or social media. It's vitiated because every person who's contributing to this is not checked for his or her credibility. Because we strongly believe in an open democracy, everybody joins in the conversation, but we really don't know how many of them are really coming in with authentic credentials. So you tend to have a heap of material before you, and it's such a business to sieve from it or pick from it that which is trustworthy. I'll just give you a random example. India is the fastest growing. Every sector of India is moving fast. Your stock market is doing very well. Companies which are listed, whose accounts are available for public to view, are doing well. Higher dividends are being given. But in spite of that, the narrative would be Indian economy is not very well. It is sick. There are some sectors which are suffering. There is a K-shaped recovery. Hang on. For those who say all this, I want them to stand up and say on what basis are they saying it. But they won't be available for you to answer. They throw that idea and go away. Similarly, your question pertaining to political parties. There's a lot of narrative thrown, and we are most often confused by the array of information which are mutually contradictory. It is important for us, particularly students like you, who have the advantage of good teachers around you, to say, look, what's going on, ma'am? Is there somebody who can tell us something? Or invite guest lectures. Bring in guests who can tell you the good, bad, the ugly, and leave it for you to decide. Whether it's the promises by political parties, or whether it is even the manifesto of political parties, which seem to come every election but soon forgotten whether they win or lose. We can't afford a democracy where we as voters remain indifferent to manifestos which are forgotten soon after people come to power. So you have a big business, not just to ask that question, but good that you asked, but more work to do for us to know where lies what.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for the very prompt and intriguing replies to the generation that encompasses the torchbearers of a Viksit Bharat. We thank you once again, ma'am. Yeah.